It goes without saying that many of the mysterious things that we come across on the internet usually aren't as mysterious as we first thought. However, in the case of Captain Coochie's key lime pies, or as many of you know it, the key lime pie mystery, this one has been one that's bugged me and many others around the internet for quite some time. If you've trawled any internet mystery videos, you've likely come across Nexpo's popularization of this topic, as well as Gamer from Mars and many others who have done countless reinvestigations. There has been a lot of scrutiny regarding this topic as people have dedicated full chartings to this phenomena, and I must say the fact that so many people have taken a critical look into this topic has made it way harder to investigate as many people have gone and gamejacked. But no need to worry as I've taken the time to sift through all the noise, so I'm ready to give you guys my best shot at putting this one to rest. I'm going to assume that every one of you aren't familiar with this mystery, so I'll give you a brief recap. Essentially, ever since 2009, there have been a series of reviews ranging far and wide on the internet referencing Coochie's Key West Cafe in Asheville, North Carolina. There are plenty of mentions to this world-famous key lime pie, and while you'd write it off as some bot leaving comments at the bottom of every single article, nearly all of the early posts were unique, and they would quickly devolve into nonsense as time would go on. And while I'll get into the frequency of when these posts started happening in a moment, what you need to know for now is that this has since plagued the internet as many people have wondered, why are there so many reviews for this pie that doesn't exist anymore? Because the restaurant that they are reviewing had closed in sometime around 2007. So how do we have thousands of individual reviews for this pie, despite not a single mention of it existing when the restaurant was actually in business? While many of the early investigations regarding this topic didn't even know whether this restaurant existed, as more and more people have looked into Coochie's Key West Cafe, whoever this commenter seems to be seems to have specific knowledge of the restaurant when it was around. And just so I fully clarify where these comments can be found, it's almost always in the comment section of any given blog article. And while not every single one would require some form of email verification, some do. Pair that with the fact that this has been going on for 11 years, and you've got yourself a mystery that we'll spend way too much time digging through. Now, continuing on with background information, the owner of the business when it was closed down was Oswald Pelias Jr. with his wife Anita, and Oswald Pelias Sr. seems to be the one who actually set up the business in 1972. Sr. being a former resident of Key West, Florida, hence the name Coochie's Key West Cafe. There are references to his 3 sons, and his wife is often seen and painted in a suggestive light. There's also specific mention of the music, the types of things that would occur at the restaurant, and the type of patrons that would be there. And one of the main things that has caught the internet's attention with all of these messages is how downright vulgar some of them seem to be, which has given rise to some people saying this is some form of cryptic messaging, which has naturally led to the Cold War number station theory, because anytime anything isn't understood on the internet, it is a Cold War number station for some reason. Other theories include some sort of spam bot, and other theories ever since the information was confirmed that this place did exist has led to the idea that some mentally ill person who used to frequent the location is now continuing to post about it online. However, what I think has been fully lost in translation here is the effect of these types of mysteries. Whenever a topic like this gets any attention, it just muddies the waters further because more and more people will jump on the bandwagon and begin to impersonate the original commenter. Take, for example, this guy who pretended to be another Facebook page dedicated to Coochies and attempted to link this to Lake City Quiet Pills, which is another topic that I've covered. So just to reiterate here, people who are willing to gamejack or muddy the waters for the sake of a bit of internet fun is actually quite common. And on a small side note, one person in particular that I'm not going to name because he wants attention, went as far as to manipulate certain pastebins to try and get people to buy his books by using the traffic from this mystery. So yeah, there's a lot of noise to dig through. Now getting back to the mystery, I want to show you the most infamous version of this comment, and they started to take place around 2013 onward. I'm going to have it scroll through here, and you can pause the video if you'd like. Now, in terms of a full timeline of events, it seems the first thing that happens that leads to the first mention of Captain Coochie's Key Lime Pies was when the location was bought out by another restaurant by the name of All Stars in 2008. Looking at Google Earth, you can see the building was active with patrons. However, it appears that this restaurant ended up closing shortly after that. And around a year later in 2009, this prompted the first mention of the pie on the internet in a handful of blog posts and only a single review site by the name of Foodio. I must say, the messages we see in the very beginning are far more coherent. And unlike the comments from 2013, all of them are actually relevant to the topic they are commenting on. In some cases, the mysterious KLP writer will even address the blog writer by name from 2009 to 2011, really only taking place on articles about key lime pie or burgers. The KLP poster always signs their pseudonym at the end using a fake name each time, and in many cases, this pseudonym is a nod to a celebrity. I will also note that many of these old primitive blogs didn't require email verification, making it very easy to make multiple posts on the same page. However, the KLP poster seems to elect to only comment usually once, at least during this time period. Getting back to the only real review pre-2011, it's on a website by the name of Foodio, as I said, from a person by the name of Vinny Gambini, which appears to be a reference to a character from a 90s movie by the name of My Cousin Vinny. And I must say, this instance is probably the only bizarre review out of all the others at this time, and it seems like he's imitating the character from the movie. However, sarcasm is hard to tell behind the keyboard, and what I will note is that in this review, the person seems to have extensive knowledge from the very beginning about the entire history of this restaurant, and seems to act a bit more like a memoir for its existence. While I can't say for 100% certainty that this was Oswald Pelias writing about his old restaurant, there is actually some evidence to suggest that Mr. Oswald was online advertising things through blog comments. And like I said, while I'm not 100% certain, who else would care enough to write a review about a restaurant that had just closed and have very specific details about the inner workings of its day-to-day? Not to mention the history of its inception, with this entire review basically spanning 35 years of the restaurant's history. Moreover, the reviewer, in kind of a comedic fashion, makes fun of the other blog comments that were written around this time, stating, "I read online now that they have become the world's greatest cheeseburger. We sure didn't see that coming 35 years ago, nor did we know that Kuchi would perfect the key lime pie. Kuchi's world greatest key lime pie has now become world famous too." Like I said before, who else would know about these very specific blog comments, as well as the 35 years of history and all of Oswald Pelias' sons' names and his wife and where she worked and so on. And like I said, I do have proof that Oswald Pelias Sr., aka Kuchi, does have a habit of promoting things in reviews and article comments. Because there's something that many people don't know about the timeline of the KLP poster, and that is around 2012, he would take a break from this posting to promote something else. And that's where these posts about OZS Gold or Oz's Gold would start appearing. And in this pastebin documenting just how many posts would occur at this time, it appears that there was a decent amount of discussion regarding this website. However, not everything was positive, as there was quite a bit of skepticism towards the thing that Oswald Pelias was promoting at this time, because it appears that the thing that Oswald Pelias was promoting was a multi-level marketing scheme. And it's also very particularly interesting that Oswald Pelias on Facebook would promote this as well, citing this email address. Now, what the Oz's Gold domain did back in 2012 was actually redirect you to the Numas network, which was an investment multi-level marketing scheme, as I said before. And it appears that he was using blog comments to promote this. And just getting back to our timeline, 2013, that's when the initial vulgar comments started occurring. And the mystery really only got its start in 2013, and probably would be nothing today if it wasn't for this one person, and that being a Facebook account by the name of Jake Carson. And I want to point out that this person only starts posting right after the Numas network shut down, that being sometime after mid-2013. Who would post incessantly for 3 years straight with the increasingly vulgar copy pasta-esque posts that we've seen. This person did this from 2013 to 2016 non-stop, mostly seeming with the intention of wanting to attach the name Captain Kuchi or Anita or Oswald Pelias to adult content. And they would increasingly become more insane over time, basically trying to make it that whenever you searched Kuchi's Key West Cafe, that would come up instead. And while you might question why someone would go out of their way for such a long period of time to write disgusting or vulgar comments, it sort of fits the bill for someone who got burned by an MLM scheme. Now, something I also want to make note of is that it appears that Oswald did in fact pass away. And it appears he passed away at the age of 93. While there has been some speculation that this was Oswald himself writing this, or his son Oswald Pelias Jr., almost all the paper trail seems to lead back to Sr. And many of the posts that you'll continue to see in the present day are people who have seemed to have hijacked the meme or the copy pasta format of these insane comments and have presently passed it on. So just to fully recap, here's the full timeline. In 2008, the restaurant would close. In 2009, a few comments would pop up on blogs mentioning that Kuchi's had the best pies and burgers, leading to the Foodio review. After 2011, these comments would stop popping up, even though there was only a handful of them. And in 2012, Oswald would start promoting an MLM, and in late 2013, when Numis Network shut down, a mysterious commenter begins to poison Google search results, tying his name and restaurant to adult content. In 2016, Reddit would pick up on the phenomena, leading to various YouTube videos in the past few years, all while various game jackers who, to this day, will still continue to hop on and muddy the waters. Now, on a final side note, you might be wondering why Kuchi would even go as far as to make those initial comments from 2009 to 2011, and I think another possibility here is that he may have been planning on starting another pie company. Because if we assume that Kuchi was the one who wrote the Foodio review back in 2009, right after it closed, this makes perfect sense. Shit, I can tell he's sick and tired of doing the same old thing day in and day out. Kuch would never admit that. He'll probably keep the place open to train his grandkids the business. Kuch has many people calling all the time, wanting him to start an online business to sell his key lime pies countrywide. I don't know if he can bake that many. He seems pretty pushed as it is. He says that maybe someday he will throw up another building and put a key lime pie factory in it and start a website. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. Who knows? Just don't tell him he can't. So maybe he was trying to set up a pie company pre-2011, as that would explain the far more normal comments that occurred during that time period. And that seems to be the most likely scenario that I could come to given the information available online. I'd love to know what you guys think about this, and this is Barely Sociable. Have a good night.